All right. Oh, this is my very first live here for the Buffalo Bills 2024 season. And today, the Buffalo Bills take on the Pittsburgh Steelers in a preseason game. Just thought I'd go on here and tell you a little bit about what we are looking for. I'm going to make a little bit of an adjustment there so you don't have to see those wires. Um, yeah, the Bills' first preseason game did not go that well against Chicago, but it was 6-3 at halftime. I don't want to get too much into this. I already did a video on this. It's not that much to worry about. The third stringers, yeah, they didn't look well. They didn't look great. But the first stringers, I thought they played okay. So go watch that. I'm more worried about what happened this week with Matt Milano. An unfortunate injury with Matt Milano. And coming back off of his former injury, we were looking for a fantastic season this year. I feel awful for Matt that he's not going to be able to play this year, or at least they say maybe he might come back in December sometime, but just awful for him that he has that injury after knowing he came back to play this year, and that it took a lot for Matt Milano to make it back. We're all cheering for him. I think all Bills fans love Matt Milano, but it's what it is. I guess in football, it's next man up, I'm always told. So Dorian Williams is the next man up, and I think he's got a lot of snaps under his belt from last year when he did do some of the substitution for our team when Milano and Bedford had gotten hurt. So, or Terrell Bernard, had gotten hurt. So, yeah, we'll see what's going to happen there. But for today's game, I'm not really going to be looking too much at our linebackers because I do know what Dorian can do. I think he's a good linebacker. So I'm not too concerned about that, but as far as what Dorian can do. But we will see some of the other linebackers. The real concern is that some of the other linebackers are hurt too. Inspector and Morrow are also hurt. So Shane Simon is going to come in. He was a pretty good player at Pitt. I think he was even a captain at Pittsburgh, so he'll be back on his home turf here as University of Pittsburgh and the Steelers play in the same field. So expect to see a lot of him today. He wasn't even on the roster at the start of training camp, but we'll see what he can do. Maybe we'll find a diamond in the rough there. And but again, linebacker is not really what I'm going to be focusing in on. What I will be focusing on is our offensive line play. I did not like what I saw from our offensive line play. I don't know if maybe it's the gelling still needs to take place. It is only the preseason, but the offensive line looked fantastic last year as they played a lot of snaps together. We had hardly any injuries last year. Knocking on wood, shaking the screen, whatever. But will the offensive line be able to play like they did last season? The big thing there that's changed is Mitch Morris is now in Jackson, is moved down, I think, to Jacksonville, maybe Carolina. I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter. He's not on the team anymore. But the move was twofolded there because Connor McGovern had looked fantastic at the left guard position, and now we move him over to center, and we start David Edwards at left guard. Now it's two changes. So, when you only got 5 players, that's a lot. So on the line, So I'm looking to see what Cedric Van Granger and Alec Anderson can do at the center position. I know Alec last week caused a sack because he snapped the ball too early on one of the plays. He didn't have the right snap count, I guess. So, that really made it easy for the defense to go in and get a sack. But, how will they do there at the center position? I'm really hoping to see Cedric Van Granger, who came out of he's right here, over here, there, right there. there. Out of Georgia to how he's going to do, because I'd love to have a youth movement player and have him be our center and put McGovern back where I know he can play well at left guard. I'm not saying he can't play well at center, but, we've got the proof in the pudding last year that he's a good left guard. And maybe David Edwards is a good left guard. We're just going to see what the best combination is, and that's what the preseason's about. So we will certainly see Connor McGovern and David Edwards out there combination, but maybe we'll see some of the Cedric Van Granger and Connor McGovern at left guard. We don't know. Maybe they won't play Connor McGovern at left guard. I'm not the coach. I don't make those decisions, but I look forward to watching it and seeing what they might be able to do. Another position to look at is our running backs, because just because they didn't look that great in the first game, but most of that, again, because the offensive line, I don't think, had showed what they could do out there and weren't making the running holes. So I'd like to see some longer runs from a couple of our running backs. Obviously, I'd like to have Cook and Ray Davis show out and become our number one and number two. But Gore and bringing back our injured running back to the team as well would be fantastic to see what if they're all ready to go. So I'm not worried about our passing game. Josh Allen looked fantastic last week when he was used. Shakir had a fantastic game, and from all accounts, in the scrimmage that they did with Pittsburgh, the practice they had with them, Shakir was one of the stars of the practice, along with Dalton Kincaid. And tight end Dawson Knox is injured, so he probably will not get the playing time, and that's okay because, again, it is a preseason game. We need to see what Quentin Morris and Davidson can do out there at tight end. I know Dalton Kincaid's a baller. We don't need to see too much of him. We will see him in the first quarter at least, but I want to see what the other two guys can do. I know what Quentin Morris can do. He's been on the team for 2 years. He's fantastic. Davidson in training camp looked like he could catch everything, was constantly getting open, so he can pass catch. Now, I didn't like last week's game. I felt like he missed a block on one of the kickoff returns that really caused a problem. So we've got to see if that guy can block. So because our tight ends have to not only be able to be pass catchers, but they have to be able to block. So that's one in particular thing I'd like to see is if Davidson can block. I know he can catch. So we'll go from there on that. So that's the offensive side of the ball. Going over to the defensive side of the ball, I would like to see more of a pass rush than we got last week. Was a little disappointed because I know our defensive line is ready. I've been watching them practice, and I know that they are ready to go. I think that Ed Oliver getting hurt on the very first play definitely hurts you on that. So, and he's fine. I haven't heard anything more updates of that injury. I just think he banged up his knee on the very first play, and that was enough for him for last week. So we'll see what they can do. I'd like to see what other defensive linemen can do. I think Kingsley Jonathan and Schmoot will need to show us a little bit about what they can do out there. And, Cameron Klein. I knew he was right there. Cameron Klein is another defensive lineman I'd like to see if he can produce. I know, players like Groot and Epinesa, we know they're going to be on the rosters, but we only have a couple of weeks now before we have to figure out what's happening on our rosters. So we need to solidify that a little bit and find out, who's going to make the team. There's even been some people thinking that Gable Stevenson might make the team. I am not one of them, but he did look pretty good last week. So, but with Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, and other guys up the middle, I don't think he'll make the team. But we'll see. And, that's, again, preseason. Maybe we can find a diamond in the rough. We've already talked about the linebackers and what's happening with them. As I go on to the defensive backs, I think defensive back play has looked good. Christian Benford and Rasul Douglas, I would list right now as our starting corners. Although Khair Elam is one of the players that's had his best training camp and has really looked really good last week against the Bears. And Elam has the physical abilities. It's always been whether he can turn the man coverage that he played predominantly in college over to the zone coverage that he now needs to play with the Buffalo Bills. It's taken him a little while to do that, but according to all reports, he looks like he's learning that at the practices. Oh, going back to the defensive line, I just saw his picture. Javon Solomon is another player to watch out for. That guy, the most improved player, in my opinion, on our defense over training camp, as he was learning new moves during training camp, because he didn't need to learn as much at Troy. But I feel like Javon Solomon, he's got a good chance to make the roster. I'd love to see him get a sack today and cause some pressure. So we've got that going for us. Cam Lewis, another defensive back that's looked good. I would like to see him move back to safety more than playing in the nickel, because I think we've got two good nickel corners. Taron Johnson, of course, is a great nickel corner. And now you put Hardy out there, who the Bills, I think, drafted him to be the punt returner and the kick returner. But now he played nickel corner in college, and he has been playing great nickel corner for the Bills so far. So maybe we've got him there, and we can move Cam back to safety. And I think Cam would be a good safety, because I'm not sure still, as I've said over and over again, what are we doing at safety? I hope we have the answer, because last year's question in the preseason was, what are we doing at linebacker? And then we found Mr. Terrell Bernard. Yeah, right there. Somewhere I can't point that well backwards. Anyway, so we need to find a safety. Now, Taylor Rapp is probably going to be one of the starters. I know we're so spoiled as Buffalo Bills fans to have had Micah Hyde, especially, and Jordan Poyer as our safeties for the last several years. Now we've got Taylor Rapp, and right now it's leaning more towards Damar Hamlin. But this is a key thing to look for in today's game. Probably the most important thing is how Kendall Williamson plays at safety compared to Damar Hamlin. One of those two needs to really step up today and show that he can play safety, because we need a quality safety. So if Hamlin playing where he played in college at Pitt, in his hometown, Pittsburgh, sure, he's going to have a ton of fans there. He has said that he wants to end his career as a Pittsburgh Steeler, which I have no problem with, because if I was which I never will be this, but if I was a Dallas Cowboy player, I would want to end my career as a Buffalo Bill, because I'm a Buffalo Bill fan. So I have no trouble with him saying that. And it doesn't mean that he takes anything away from being a Buffalo Bill now. So I'd love to have Damar Hamlin step up. What a story that would be around the nation if he turns into our starting safety. But we need to see what Kendall Williamson can do. Other safeties like Cole Bishop are hurt. We can't see what they're going to do or hope that they're going to be good safeties for us because they're injured. Kareem Jackson is another one coming over from the Texans in Denver. He's been an NFL player for a long time. I think the Bills know what he can do. Compared to Williamson, I think he was drafted last year by maybe the year before by the Bears in the 7th round. So he hasn't got as much playing time under his belt. Williamson looked good against the Bears last week, except for the one late hit out of bounds, looked like a sort of a cheap shot hit. But so maybe Kareem Jackson might be another player to play safety. But the safety position is the number one thing to look at in today's game. I watched some videos, and then on the special teams. Of course, we want Bass to do well. Of course, we want Martin to do well. And of course, we want Reed Ferguson to do well. There, bye. Hopefully, they all play great. There's no substitutes for them. They don't have anybody else in camp. Those are our players at those positions. We need to find out with these preseason games who is going to make the team at the other positions. Because right now, I think you could probably put in 30 to 35 guys on the roster that are locks. But we got to bring in the other 50 to get to 53. So that's what these two games are about. and the practices and the training camps. We don't just go with just the games, but the games highlight a lot of things because what you do during games is the most important thing of all. So I'm not even sure if Casey Toohill's going to play either, but that would be another defensive lineman, as I see another picture behind me, that we'd like to see how he's going to do. We always want to see Von Miller play well. I do think he's got his bend back, but it's nice to see the more times he gets some reps, the more he's been able, it looks like, to bend that knee a little bit more and get that bend to get around the corner. And if he can do that, then, we're pretty set on that. We're going to get at our comments here as we got in our comment section. Again, this is my first time to do one of these lives before a game, but we do have it here from Richard Klein. It would be hard for them to look worse than last week. Well, again, let's go back to last week's game. 6-3 at halftime. Josh Allen took him on a drive for the first drive. The call was conservative on 3rd and 2 to run up the middle. I don't think they would have made that call. They probably would have done a run pass option where Josh Allen at that point would have kept the ball and took it around for the first down. So then that drive would have kept going. And then the second drive, Allen was moving him down the field and the quarter ended, so they pulled the quarterback. So I'm not worried about our offense there. And the defense looked good in the red zone as they bended but not break on the first 2 drives and only gave up 6 points. It was 6-3 at halftime. So it is definitely possible for them to look worse than they did last week because the halftime score was the score that really mattered. The second half was the guys trying to make the team, the third-round players, and some of the guys we won't even see on the roster in 2 weeks. So when they were getting bowled over late in the fourth quarter, it didn't really matter. And then I got a question here. How's it going? It's going great. Go Bills. Go Bills. Hey, I had one of my YouTube followers actually message me today and send me a pair of tickets for the watch party at Highmark Stadium that only, I think, club seat holders get invited to. And I don't have club seats. I've only got seats in the end zone, which I love. I love my seats in the end zone. Perfect view of the scoreboard. I can see everything develop. But I get to go to that. I've never been to one of our watch parties. So that's exciting for a fan to reach out and do that for me. And I'll be going to see that. Here's another thing. The national eye seems to be solely focused on our receivers this year. What do you think people should be looking for this year? Our receiving core, the national news is always going to talk about the number one guy. Who's the number one guy? I don't care who the number one guy is. I think sometimes on offense, if you have a number one receiver, you leave the huddle, the quarterback does, looking for that number one guy first and foremost, instead of looking at who's going to be open. With our wide receiver group now, we are attacking defenses a lot like the Green Bay Packers did last year with 5 number ones. We don't have one number one. We're going to have 5. Coleman is going to be one of them. Curtis Samuel will be out there. Khalil Shakir, Mac Hollins, and I pray to God the other one is Shavers. I am not a big fan of MVS. Last week when he dropped the pass, I said, well, who would have thought that would have happened? The guy, MVS, is a Pro Bowl player, Pro Bowl caliber player, Pro Bowl speed, if he could only catch passes. Shavers, on the other hand, has had one of the best training camps of any receiver on the team. He has been star of the day at training camp, not the star play of the day, because Coleman has a highlight play every single practice. But Shavers is solid. He's tall. He can get the ball to him in the end zone, and I hope he makes the team. I don't know his speed difference between him and MVS. I know that a lot of people want a speed guy on the team to stretch those defensive safeties. So that may be one way that MVS makes the team over Shavers, if that's the case. I don't really know the speed difference between the two, so I shouldn't really be commenting on that. But that's what I think about our receiver group, if that's what you were asking about. I really think our defensive line is going to be a thing that the national media will be talking about down the road. Marcus West was working those guys off hard during training camp. And I went to each and every day of training camp this year. And last year and the year before that, I've been lucky enough to go to all the days of training camp because I live pretty close to St. John Fisher. But yeah, the defensive line, I think, is going to be fantastic as long as they can stay healthy, which Ed Oliver, that did scare me last week. I was like, he's done for today. But Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones up the middle, that's awesome. Then you got Von Miller, who I feel like he is back with his bend. That's awesome. Greg Grousseau. Groot is going to give us what Groot does. And Epinesa has really matured a lot over his last couple of seasons, and I think he's going to have a fantastic season. So those are my key guys on the defensive line that I think will give us a lot of pressure this year, and let's see him rack something up today. But the news coming out of that Steeler practice was not good. I watched both the Bills, some of the Bills commentators or people that report on the Bills, and some of the Steelers guys. And the Bills guys thought the Steelers won, and the Steelers guys thought the Steelers won. So, again, it's practice in preseason against another team. But you put that on top of what they looked like against the Bears in the second half, maybe you start leaning towards the worry a little bit. Just hoping for, yes, me too. I'm hoping for a cleaner game. Those pre-snap penalties were really bad last week. And I remember last year in the first preseason game, they were really bad. You can't have pre-snap penalties. And McDermott fixed it with the team last year. I think they will be able to do that this year too, and have a more efficient game. I hope they will play more efficiently from the starters through the second string to the third string to the fourth string, whatever string you go down to. I hope they'll all play well today. And big time, no injuries. No injuries has to be on the top of the list of things that we want from today's game. None of that. Are you scared of our schedule? As AM, I don't know what AM means, but am I scared of our schedule? Yes. Our schedule is hard. Going to Houston, who's become a fantastic team. My daughter's favorite team, probably my second favorite team, mostly because Tim Settle went there. But yeah, Houston's a good team, and we got to play San Francisco, Kansas City, on top of the AFC East teams that we play every year. I mean, it's a hard schedule. Detroit, I mean, yeah, that's very, very scary. So the most important thing to do is to beat the Patriots twice, to beat the Dolphins twice, and to not get caught up by losing one game against the Jets like we seem to do. So if we can win those AFC East games, we can make the playoffs. And then if you're in the playoffs, who knows what can happen. I think we're going for the thumb this year on, I think, AFC East Championship. Oh, last 4 years, I think we've won the AFC Championship. So let's go for the thumb. Get a ring to the thumb or a hat. I guess they call those T-shirt and hat games. So we'll get a T-shirt and hat for each finger, and thumb gets one now. So, yeah, I think that the schedule is definitely something to be nervous about. And thanks for joining, Big Fat, today. Appreciate your questions, and Richard as well. Anybody else have anything they want to ask before we get this game going? Used to calling it Heinz Field. I'm not sure that it is Heinz Field anymore. I think another sponsor stepped up and took over those payments, but it'll always be Ketchup Field to me that they're playing at today. Last year when Pittsburgh came to Buffalo, I did yell at Mike Tomlin, if he didn't like Mitch Trubisky, send him back. He was listening, I guess, because Mitch is back on our team this year. I love Mitch Trubisky as our backup quarterback. I've always thought Trubisky had a lot of talent. Backup quarterback is not going to be the best player in the NFL, or he'd be the starting quarterback. But Mitch has a lot of mobility. He has a strong arm, especially on short throws. Now those medium to long throws, last week, Quentin Morris wide open. And, I just talked about earlier in this video how Quentin Morris is fighting for a roster spot. He gets wide open like that. It'd be nice if you could throw him the ball. He overthrew him there. So, but I still love Mitch Trubisky as our backup because he's very similar talented to Josh Allen. Obviously, he's no Josh Allen, but he's got mobility and a strong arm. So, and he's been a starter in the league for several years with the Chicago Bears. Things just didn't work out in Pittsburgh, and I'm glad to have him back. Anything else we need to look at? I think the prime player to look at today would be Javon Solomon. I'm really looking at him and Kendall Williamson. I think Solomon is going to show some people today. If I was going to pick an MVP on the defensive side of the ball, I'd go with Solomon. As long as he's not injured. I think he got hurt a little bit in that practice, but I haven't heard any update about him playing today or not. So, yeah, we've been going for 25 minutes now, and let's talk a little bit about the new stadium because it depresses me. The new stadium, it's going to be a fantastic place. It's going to be very, very beautiful. And I know a lot of fans have already got their season tickets lined up. Due to the fact that I'm sitting in the end zone, I haven't been called yet to go to the experience and find out how much my seats are going to cost. But from all things I've been told from other season ticket holders, it's way too much money for us to be able to afford to continue to be season ticket holders. As right now we sit in the cheapest seats in the stadium. It's not even a seat. It's a bench. And I love it. That's the only place I want to sit. I moved down to row 11 this year in the end zone. It is perfect. I am low enough to be down there near the players at the beginning and the end, but high enough to be able to see over people to see the plays develop. I love that. So big hello to West East Bay. Welcome to the stream. If anybody has any questions on the Bills, feel free to ask away. But moving on to the new stadium, the new stadium just looks like it's going to be way too expensive. Somebody said to me, yeah, but it's going to be really nice. Well, there's a lot of really nice things in the world that you wish you could own, but I'm not probably going to be able to own tickets at the new stadium, just like I can't own a Ferrari right now or my own airplane, things like that. So, yeah, the new stadium's going to be beautiful, but it won't have me in it. Yeah, pretty sure about that. But we'll wait until we see the experience and go over there and find out what's going to go on. Back to the team. I hope that Dawson Knox's injury is not something that's going to continue to cause him problems as we move forward. The big thing here is even if you get an injury today's game or last week's game, they do have a bye week in between the last preseason game and the regular season to try to give you a little bit of a buffer to try to get healthy again. Of course, for big injuries like the one Matt Milano received, that's not going to be enough time to come back because he's not going to be back probably until December. But hopefully little tweaks and bruises and things will be gone. So if there was a home game this year you can't miss, which one would it be? The next game. I never want to miss any game this year. I definitely want to be at the 49ers game, and I hope that West East Bay, who's on here now, can join us for that and come out to Buffalo to watch his 49ers play at our stadium. That's the one game I definitely don't want to miss. The one game I may miss this year, the Kansas City Chiefs game. I watched them play in the playoffs last year. The tickets are just really expensive for that game, so I may have to resell my ticket to help recoup season tickets for this year. So that may be the one game that I may miss just because I did see Kansas City last year. I'm not too big of a Taylor Swift fan. I do like Taylor Swift, but I don't love her. So I don't need to see her again. I don't need to see Kelsey. I don't need to see Mahomes gallop around like a horse after the game like he did last year in his celebration. So the Kansas City Chief game may be the one game I miss just because I might try to resell the ticket to recoup the money towards my season tickets. So West East Bay, if you're still on here, I'd like a commitment that on here that you are coming out for the 49ers game. We need to see you. So write that down there now. You are coming for the San Francisco 40. You will be here for the 49ers game. If you're watching this video, I'd appreciate it if you would give me a like and subscribe to Pops Mafia. Pops Mafia. We did a video on every training camp in the preseason. I was there every day. Did a video after every game, and we'll do a video after every home and away game, and may do one of these lives if people like them before each road game. Of course, I can't do a live before the home game because I am down there on the ramp, or down there in the front rows, trying to talk to some of the players and get some autographs, which you can see all these pictures behind me that I have been able to get autographed. I now have, I think it's 54 of the guys on the current roster and 6 or 7 coaches autographs as well. So that collection has been going great, been a great hobby to have. Kansas City games are overrated. Good resale value. That's what I'm thinking. And you will try to come out to the 49ers game. Good. You better be out here. There is no try. As Yoda would say, there is no try, West. There's just do. There is no try. There is just do. So make sure you do that. You have a couple of friends out here that want to see you. And you even got a place to stay. So I don't know what the deal is. Get out here and watch the 49ers play. No excuses. No excuses. Okay. So it's preseason football today. We've been going for over 30 minutes. I think with that, I will call it a stream, and enjoyed talking a little bit about the Buffalo Bills. Enjoyed interacting with a couple of you on here, and hopefully these will grow as the season comes closer and as the Bills hopefully have a fantastic season. But for now, I say, go Bills, and always remember, God loves you, and so do I. Wait, God loves you, and so do I.